Amin Elhassan has flown home, but while flying or after landing, at some point, something happened last night during Celtics Heat. I have no idea what it is. That Amin did the rare thing of demanding to be on. He called for the ball, and he's like, there are things I need to say. I don't know what these things are. I don't know what about last night made you insistent that you had to be on today's show, but I suppose you're going to tell us right now. What got you so fired up last night?
Yeah, I mean, this is the ultimate I told you so game. Because if you watched it, you know two things. One, obviously the Heat did not play well. But more importantly, I don't think the Celtics played well. I think they just defended and overwhelmed with talent. And I think this is exactly the point that I was trying to get out, but couldn't get a word out edgewise because Mike was in Panthers fever and Will Manso was cupping his ear to the crowd. But the reality is that a game like last night is where it all crystallizes, where the Celtics aren't executing. They're not like beating you with plays. They're just out-talenting you. And on the other end of the court, the Heat were doing their stuff. They were getting into their stuff. But they just couldn't overwhelm offensively. Once Bam has a slow start, even as they're running their stuff, they weren't able to overcome a motivated Celtics defense. And that's the crux of what I was trying to get to the last couple of days, which is for Miami to win games. And this isn't a knock. This is a compliment. They do things the right way more often than you. They execute you to death. And when they don't do that, it's hard for them to win games. It's hard for them even saying it. And you don't have to believe me. You could watch 82 games of Heat basketball. That proves what I'm saying. Like, this isn't a team that roll the ball out and we're just so good. We beat people. No, they do it by executing basketball, and they didn't do it last night, and they got their asses kicked.
To be clear, you insisted on a segment because things that you were trying to say that were never said because you didn't have a chance and a space to say them. You're still I told you soing on stuff that you weren't able to say.
I mean, I started to say them and then I get cut off, and I started to say them, I get cut off. And so it's nice to have 30 to 45 seconds of uninterrupted airtime to just calmly explain what I'm talking about. Yeah.
What, we had to come in for this?
I mean, I didn't demand you guys to come in. You guys were already coming in. I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about the Marlins, Billy? Hey, what did the Marlins do last night? I'm sure
there's
that was
actually
really
a lot going on in the world of Fish Stripes. I don't know what's happening there, but
What is Fish Stripes?
Fish Stripes was no longer with us, unfortunately. R.I.P. Fish Stripes. Fish on
person?
first now. Yeah, you have to. It's a whole thing. We're still collecting data and figuring out exactly what's going on with Fish Stripes.
Trying to do some journalism.
Everybody left Fish Stripes, and now everybody's on Fish on first. So I'll report back to you. I'm keeping an eye on the situation.
Is it like the Marlins, man?
Do you have anything else Marlins related that you would like to get to?
Oh, I mean, they tied. Jorge Soler's hit a home run
Ding
in
dong.
every game for the past 6 months.
Who's
it
there?
seems like ding dong.
It's Jorge Soler.
Yeah. Anyways, and then they tied the game. They blew a game yesterday, and then they tied it in the
outs
ninth, and then they blow
tie
it again.
and then they lose. They lost a one-run game.
Yeah.
Those hurt. You normally win those.
Yeah, 15-3.
I mean, what else did you see last night? I saw Tatum on Bam some. I don't think that Boston's going to want to keep doing that if they want to avoid Tatum getting into foul trouble.
You saw Tatum on who?
I saw him on Idris last night.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that too. Yeah, it was pretty remarkable to watch him kind of fumble the ball and be terrified by Derek White. He's so much smaller than me. Oh my God, that was it was the sum of all fears. It was like after months of, you know what, man, I think he's past this. I think he's Bam again. Last night, Idris said, "Hi guys, I'm back," and he was in full effect last night. The other thing I want to say about the game, though, is I don't know about you guys. I was surprised that Spo started Kyle Lowry. I thought this was a prime opportunity to either start Caleb Martin or start even Highsmith, who played great. And we were talking about that, Mike, before the game.
Yeah,
they're probably going to.
Who do you have?
They should start Highsmith.
Who do you have initiating offense? And Bam and Jimmy, and just go point guardless?
Yeah. Yeah, and they've had stretches this season where Caleb is bringing the ball up, and throwing it to the wing and then cutting away, and now we're getting into actions and stuff like that. So it's not like we're asking someone to do something for the very first time. But I thought like that also was not in their favor. I thought Kyle Lowry coming off the bench works really well for the Heat, has worked very well, and they kind of disrupted that rhythm a little bit. And the last thing I'm going to ask is Kevin Love unplayable in this series? Because yikes.
Don't you think he serves a purpose whenever they switch to zone, though?
Yes and no. I mean, his rebounding can't be understated for sure. And we know how good he is with those outlet passes. But, man, it seems like the Celtics are able to zero in and target him and play him off the floor. And so at some point, like, why are we going through this charade? In case he hits a couple of threes?
But is it hold on, but is it in case he hits a couple of threes, or even in the game that made us all bury the Celtics? They're quitters. They're terrible. They got blown out by 20. They had a 21-1 offensive rebounding edge. They missed so many shots, but they kept getting the offensive rebounds. And in this series, they've done that a good deal more than Miami. So when you say his rebounding can't be minimized, like, isn't that why he's out there?
That's why he's out there. And for the most part, that's what he does. Like, he does not disappoint. Last night, he grabbed 29% of available rebounds when he was on the floor. That's a terrific number. The problem is the team still got out-rebounded, and the problem is whatever benefit he brought to the table with his rebounding was swallowed by all the other defensive liabilities. Factor on top of that, he's not stroking it out there. Then it's like, well, then why are you here? I get it. Like, again, it's like saying, hey, I came to the potluck. What'd you bring? Well, I brought some paper plates. Well, that's good. We do need plates. What else did you bring? Well, I brought a flamethrower to burn the whole place down. Well, that's not good. Like,
yeah, I think
I can live without plates, you know.
I think you can be there if other people are out there, right? Like, if Gabe Vincent isn't available, then you can't have a situation in which you're still doubling Jason Tatum and Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry have to figure out how to cover a half court and get to their man in time. So maybe it's a Haywood Highsmith game. Hopefully Gabe Vincent is ready. There are whispers about Tyler Hero, which, again, I'm a sore loser, but it should be noted that they're missing 2 starters as an 8 seed. It's kind of hard to overcome that when your bench is this limited, when it's guys like Zeller and Love and Kyle Lowry that have their physical limitations.
Well, and I think the other thing, Mike, is, and this is when I said Spo panicked in game 4. There's just a little, maybe panic is too strong a word, but
it is.
When I'm watching the Celtics play, when I'm watching what Tatum is doing, I'm not seeing a guy who at the time is overwhelming with talent, as I know he's capable of doing. I'm seeing a guy who's getting shots through the rhythm of offense, through broken plays, through transition, through mismatches. And I feel like they're hitting the double team button a little too quick, right? Hey, man, how about this? Let's just play some solid defense for a couple possessions, half-court possession. Make him score against a half-court defense. And then, like, when he's got a couple going, all right, let's start exploring, sending doubles, stunts, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems like they're panicking, and I'm like, he's getting a lot of his stuff not in the half-court.
What's your confidence level that the Miami Heat will clean this all up?
I mean, again, like, I have, even as I have these criticisms, and by the way, Will Manto and company, this is how you do it. Like, it's not to say, oh, they're done for or whatever. It's to offer real criticisms while still saying I have confidence that Spo is going to come up with a game plan that is going to address these things. I have confidence that they're going to defend a lot better and not, but most importantly, I have confidence that the execution team, the Miami Heat, is not going to turn the ball over as crazy as they've had the last couple of games. And that's a huge part of this, right? Turning the ball over as much as they have has allowed Boston to get out there in the break and get those easy baskets and build those overwhelming leads. I think the Heat close it out in 6. But again, this is what I'm talking about. Not by, oh my God, Jimmy had 40 and they had no answers. It's by the little things, doing everything right and waiting for the Celtics to mess up.
I mean, when you look at the Heat being able to execute, how much of that does come down to having Gabe Vincent back, though, right? Because you look at this team and not having not just their starting point guard, but without their starting shooting guard and their backup shooting guard, all of whom, after Jimmy Butler, are their best individual shot creators. So does getting a point guard back change some of that stuff? Because to me, you talk about the defensive effort on Jason Tatum or the defensive effort by the Heat. Really, more of that is affected by the fact that they're just not able to get back quick enough in transition with the athletes that are out there right now for Boston, coming off of bad turnovers in the half court on offense.
Of course, again, this is the margin of error we're talking about. When the Warriors were at their peak, I had a tweet bookmarked from like 6 years ago or whatever, and it's one of my favorite tweets ever because, it was, you could play 46 minutes of perfect basketball, and the Warriors could make every mistake, and in the last 2 minutes, they're gonna play such a great brand of basketball. In the last 2 minutes, it will erase the 46 minutes of perfect basketball you played. That's how good they were. That's not what the Miami Heat are. They don't have that luxury. And so every time you take another chess piece off the table, whether it's a Tyler Hero, whether it's a Gabe Vincent, it makes it that much harder because guess what? Jimmy Butler is not Jason Tatum. He is not overwhelmingly offensive in talent. He's a guy that works and gets it out of the mud, which is what Spo loves. Spo loves getting out of the mud. Well, guess what? You're going to have to pour a little water down there to have some mud. Otherwise, it's just sand you're throwing up in the air.
Well, you say, though, that Jimmy Butler's not Jason Tatum, but statistically in the playoffs, he is Jason Tatum, better than Jason Tatum. I understand the point that you're making. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is the Miami Heat's margin for error a small space around Gabe Vincent's ankle? Because
what's funny about what Amin is saying is the Heat have come back so often in the last 2 minutes of games because Jimmy Butler has been overwhelming them, because he does become Jason Tatum. He does become Jordan Light. He does become Kobe.
But that's within the context of them doing everything else right. And that's the part you guys are missing. You guys are so laser focused on, well, Jimmy scored this. Well, clearly that means he's doing exactly what you're. I'm telling you, it all happens within the context of the team not making mistakes.
Amin, thank you for being on with us. A reminder, that was Amin's I Told You So on stuff he wasn't actually able to get out because we were talking about the Panthers.
Real hoopers know, Dan.